Hi everyone, my name is Amy Goff and welcome to the first Children's Science Center Google Hangout on Air. Thank you for joining us today. We are very excited to chat about the importance of hands-on STEM education. We have two special guests joining the Hangout today. I'm happy to introduce Amy Burke and Tom Stone. To begin, Amy Burke is the Vice Chair of the Board of the Children's Science Center, which she has been involved with since 2012. She has expertise with STEM education issues and more than a decade of experience in the technology sector. Amy holds an MBA from the University of Virginia and a Bachelor's of Science from Georgetown University. Hi Amy, thanks for joining the call today.
Thanks, happy to be here.
Next, Tom Stone is a STEM educator at the Children's Science Center. He graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School in 2014 and is currently a sophomore at William & Mary majoring in physics. Hi Tom, thanks for joining the call today.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
So let's get started with a quick discussion regarding the importance of STEM principles to young children. Amy, can you please share why you feel introducing STEM principles to young children gives them an advantage?
Absolutely. Kids are actually natural-born scientists. If you've ever seen a baby with a spoon on a high chair dropping it off repeatedly, they're actually formulating a hypothesis and testing it. What if I drop it on this side? How many times will mom pick it up? So encouraging that natural curiosity is really important. In fact, there's been some research recently that shows that kids that enter kindergarten that have a better understanding of the world around them perform much better all the way up through their third grade science assessment. And in fact, there's a pretty big gap that emerges if they have not had these experiences before entering kindergarten. So that's one of the reasons that informal science experience, STEM experiences like going to the Children's Science Center are very important.
Great, well thank you for that. Tom, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Totally agree with Amy's point about mere exposure to different scientific disciplines, especially when you have the opportunity to see these things outside the classroom, things that aren't dictated by a curriculum, learning things at a certain time of the year. The different programming that's offered here at the Science Center explores tons of different scientific topics that kids might not learn until a certain point in their primary education. But here at the Science Center, kids have the opportunity to just expose themselves to things that they might learn down the road but haven't even considered at a certain point in their life.
Well, great. Thank you both for your thoughts. Now that we have a basis for why STEM education is so important, we would like to discuss how the Children's Science Center is promoting STEM education. Tom, for our audience members who aren't familiar with your newly built lab facility, can you give a brief explanation of what the lab offers?
Absolutely. So the Science Center is divided into 4 large areas. The first one you see as you walk into the center is called the Experiment Bar. It's set up a lot like a bar you might find in a cafeteria or something like that, where there's a central location where we have people in orange aprons walking around assisting our visitors with different introductory chemistry experiments, learning about reactions to when you combine different things together, making observations about physical, both quantitative and qualitative observations that they see. But they're structured in a way that we have experiments for all different age groups, different levels of difficulty depending on our type of visitor. And parents love to get involved with this stuff, but we try to have the children experience that on their own terms as much as possible. There's also an area immediately behind that in the center called the Discovery Zone. This is primarily designed for younger children, early childhood education type things. There are different plastic bins where parents can they're guided along by a script of different math and science activities that they can break out with their kids and their hands-on and work with their children on that. And there's also very large construction toys that kids can build with in that area. The third section is called the Tinker Shop. That's a little bit more advanced building opportunity for kids. It's much like an intro to engineering section of the space. There's introductory electronics stuff, some stuff with aerospace and classical mechanics and physics. And then the final 2 spaces that we have are the Inspiration Hub, which is more like a static hands-on museum type thing, just larger sitting exhibits about energy for the most part. That's most of the science in that section. And finally, the space we're in right here is the garage. It's more like a large conference room area that we have a Kiva plank challenge and another construction toy challenge, as well as classes that we conduct in here, just a large learning space.
Great, well thank you for that. To expand on that, Amy, all of the activities for the children at the lab are hands-on. Why do you feel that this hands-on aspect is important for children to receive, in addition to the exposure that they're already receiving at school?
Well, absolutely. The hands-on experiential learning just gives it a whole other dimension and reinforces what they're learning in school. I'll give you an example of my 9-year-old who went to the lab, and then he used the ball wall, where you start the ball on the top and then it goes down, and there's a sign there that talks about potential and kinetic energy. And pretty soon he's coming home talking to me about this, and I said, well, did you learn this in school? No, well, we did, but then I saw it at the lab, and you know, now he really understood it, so that's really important. I think also the point that Tom made about the children leading the learning is really important, what kind of driving their interest, experiencing things, and the fact that you're doing it in a family setting. So you have a parent or a caregiver that is interacting with the child, and that's been shown to really increase understanding.
Great. Thank you both so much for your insight. To help our viewers get a more visual understanding of the lab activities, Tom, could you walk us through a short exercise that you offer at the lab?
Sure. So this is actually a kind of a roving experiment that we have in the Science Center that we've started to use. Here we have inside this glass a 100-foot long chain that you would normally attach a pen to, maybe at your local bank branch or a library. And just the nature of the chain, there's a lot of mass stretched out over a very, very, very long string, basically. So when you have something like that, it likes to behave like a fluid. I'm drawing on a little bit of my experience with physics here, but we've explained this to all the staff, and we're able to talk to kids about it. So when you drop it, right, from a height, gravity pulls it almost like a liquid flowing out of this cup. Even though it's a solid, it likes to behave like a liquid. So I can drop it, let me bring the camera back here. I can drop it from this cup, and as it falls into the bell jar, let's get it going here, it actually, as you raise it above the bell jar, it likes to arc above the lid of the cup. Kind of hard to see, but the kinetic energy is really, really overwhelming. We like to do that as a hands-on kind of physics experiment for kids, get them some exposure to that sort of thing outside of school.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Amy and Tom, for your valuable input in today's discussion. The information you've shared will hopefully influence today's viewers and inspire them to expose their child to STEM learning through hands-on activities. As our hangout comes to an end, I'd like to take this time to encourage today's viewers to view the Children's Science Center and to visit them and take advantage of this unique learning opportunity provided to the Northern Virginia community. And lastly, I'd like to extend a big thank you to everyone tuning into our Hangout on Air today. And be sure to follow the Children's Science Center Lab on Google+, for fun at-home experiments, STEM facts, and upcoming events at the lab. Be sure to check out their website at www.childsci.org for more information. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.